بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As promised, I said I would do a video just to explain the grammar, the Nahw, the i'rab and the Sarf of ayah number 23 onwards. Hopefully we get to ayah number 25. That will be a good place to stop. Let's see how much we can be able to do, inshallah. These ayat are not very detailed, they're not very i'rab intensive, and they're not very long, as you're going to see. So we'll probably get quickly through them. Maybe the Sarf might take a little bit longer, but inshallah we'll be able to manage and see what we can be able to extract from this ayat. All right. So without wasting any time, we're just going to go ahead and begin. So we have here ayah number 23 begins with قل. We know قل is فعل أمر, right? قل is فعل أمر. قال يقول قولا فهو قائل. قيل يقال قولا فهو مقول. الأمر منه قل والنهي عنه لا تقل. So that's the idea. قل أمر, فعل أمر, and the فاعل of course is ضمير مستتر, the inside pronoun هو. Okay. So what that means then is, normally whenever you have قل, then you have مقول القول or مقول قائل, right? So you have whatever is said, and that whole statement that is being said will be في محل نسب مفعول به. So this entire statement that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being told to say is going to be مقول القول في محل نسب. So هو الذي أنشأكم, this whole statement is مقول القول. Okay, we've established that. So let's go inside that مقول القول and see what we have. We have هو, okay, is the first رفع. So, and we know that ضمير المنفصل is always في محل رفع. Okay, so this is going to be our مبتدأ. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And of course, now what comes after it is supposed to be our خبر. But when we look at our خبر, what do we have? We have اسم موصول. So this اسم موصول is going to be في محل رفع خبر of هو. هو الذي. He is the one. Okay. And of course, the اسم موصول is going to be في محل رفع. Maybe I should write خبر. Let me write اسم موصول so that it's clear. خبر. And then we have أنشأكم. You know what? We can even just take that to a next line. You know, so that we have enough space to operate. There we go. So أنشأكم. What is أنشأكم then in this case? It's going to be صلة الموصول لا محل لها من الإعراب. So أنشأ is the صلة. But inside that صلة, we have a جملة فعلية. أنشأ ينشئ, just like أسلم يسلم. So this is فعل ماضي. And of course, the pronoun is هو, the inside pronoun ضمير مستتر in أنشأ. هو أنشأ, right? And of course, the كاف here, the كم, is مفعول به في محل نسب. أنشأ من? It answers the question who. Who did he create? أنشأكم. He created you all. All right? So that's what's happening. And then you have here واو حرف عطف. So look, أنشأ فعل ماضي, جعل فعل ماضي. So we have حرف عطف and it's connecting جعل to أنشأ. So this is going to be our اسم معطوف. Okay, so that's going to be اسم معطوف جعل, and of course it's فعل ماضي, and the فاعل is the inside pronoun again هو, right? And then we have لكم, لام حرف جار, كم attached pronoun. So together جار ومجرور, and we say that they are جار ومجرور متعلقان be in this case جعل, right? They are متعلق to جعل. But remember, when we're doing the i'rab labeling is actually jar, حرف جار and اسم مجرور. That's how we will label grammatically. And of course, we go ahead and say, okay, what is this jar majroor doing? Because like I've been saying, jar and majroor fragment in Arabic is like a chameleon. It plays so many different roles. It could be a number of things. So you have to identify what is it doing. And here it is متعلق بجعل. It's just connected to جعل. Right. So we have جعل. جعل is one of those fi'als that has to have a مفعول به. It cannot just come by its own. جعل ماذا? It has to be answered. That question has to be answered. And sometimes it takes on two مفعول بهs. And that's why you would see that some Arab books would say that this لكم is connected to the first مفعول به or something like that, right? But of course, it doesn't have to have two مفعول بهs. It can just be he made an apple. You can just say he made an apple or he made a cup. It's possible to just have one مفعول به, even though sometimes it takes two مفعول بهs when it comes with the meaning of السيرورة, when it comes with the meaning of changing, to transform A into B. When you transform A into B, and use the فعل جعل, then now you have two مفعول بهs. But you can just make one thing and that could be it. All right. So here it could come in the meaning of خلق, creating or making. So that's what is understood here. So the question is, what did he make for you? Or what did he create for you? السمعاء, you can see that it is مفعول به. It's mansub there. So this is going to be our مفعول به منسوب, right? Wow, حرف عطف again, and so الأبصار would be عطف and اسم معطوف there. And then I'm just going to do the same thing here because والأفئدة is also عطف and اسم معطوف, right? So that's kind of like what is happening there. So الأبصار is معطوف to السمع, and أفئدة is معطوف to الأبصار. That's why all of them, they have fatha on them. All of them are mansub because حرف عطف and معطوف, they are part of the التوابع, what we call the followers. They follow in terms of i'rab. So you can see here, they're all mansub because they are following the i'rab of السمع, which is the مفعول به, right? Now, let's talk about قليلا ما تشكرون. This is a little bit juicy. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because it's something maybe that is not so common or something that we cannot easily guess. So قليلا, of course, it's nasab, it's mansub, okay? Now, because it's mansub, we have to ask ourselves, why is it mansub? And there are a list of about 16 reasons why a word can be mansub. Now, we can't go through the entire list, but whenever you see قليلا, whenever you see كثيرا, whenever you see these words that have to do with, you know, plenty and little, I want your head to immediately go to نائب مفعول مطلق, immediately, right? And I'm going to explain how this whole fragment comes about. But immediately, whenever you see قليلا, whenever you see كثيرا, and especially if it's followed by ما, then it's going to be نائب عن المفعول المطلق. So that's the idea. It's going to be نائب عن المفعول المطلق. In other words, and why is it نائب? So the structure, and I'm just going to write it here, the structure initially was supposed to be تشكرون شكرا. Now you start to seeing the structure coming together. قليلا شكرا قليلا تشكرون شكرا قليلا. That's how it's supposed to be. So I want you to imagine that this whole statement comes before قليلا here, right? تشكرون شكرا قليلا. Now, all this thing was محذوف. And of course, here when we're doing تشكرون شكرا قليلا, how do we do the إعراب? We say تشكرون فعل مضارع فاعله ضمير يعني واو الجماعة, right? And then شكرا would be مفعول مطلق because شكرا follows شاكرا, right? Is a masdar from the verb that came before it. So this would be مفعول مطلق. And then قليلا is what? قليلا is a صفة to a مفعول مطلق. So whenever we have a sifa to a maf'ul mutlaq, we normally label it as naib maf'ul mutlaq because it is sort of like taking the place. Look, we omitted this thing and we just left qalilan. So this qalilan is taking the place of the maf'ul mutlaq. That's why it is naib al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. It is substituting the maf'ul mutlaq. So that's kind of what is happening in that sentence there. All right. So قليلا نائب عن المفعول المطلق شكرا, which is محذوف. Okay. So and then you have ما. قليلا ما, كثيرا ما. Whenever you have this fragment, this ما is always going to be زائدة. It's always going to be زائدة. Right? And what is its purpose? Is to emphasize how little or to emphasize how much. So if I say قليلا ما, قليلا is already little. But then I add ma, and I'm saying like it's so very little. Yeah? I'm adding emphasis لتأكيد القلة, to emphasize the scarcity, to emphasize the littleness, right, of the idea. And you can add it to emphasize scarcity, or you can add it to emphasize increase or a lot. Like for example, كثيرا ما, how much, right? So normally in English you would say how much, and you would see this in the translation in a bit, how they translated this, how little and how much. That's the structure that is used in English. So this ma is ma زائدة. Again, just remember as a rule of thumb, when you see قليلا, your mind needs to go to نائب المفعول المطلق. When you see قليلا ما, this kind of structure, the ma is always going to be زائدة, because again, there are so many different kinds of ma, you know. And so to figure out which kind of ma it is, it's important. It makes it easier if you can just have these tricks and clues and tips handy. Okay. So then you have tashkurun. Now tashkurun is kind of like a new sentence here in this case, but it is the word, this tashkurun is kind of like what told us why this qalila, why the words were missing. Remember I told you before here, it's like we said, tashkuruna shukran qalilan, right? Now, if this was said, and then you have ma tashkuruna, it will be redundant. Why? Because now you're repeating the same things. And the Quran is eloquent. It does not say things for the sake of saying, right? So there's a purpose of every word. So this is omitted. And this tashkurun is actually what is telling you what is qalila. What is little is your shukr that came afterwards. So that's kind of like what is happening there. I'm going to gray this out so that, you know, you don't assume like we are like this is not part of the Quran. This is just for us to understand what is happening there. Okay. So something like that. قليلا ما تشكرون. We've done ما الزائدة. So we're going to do تشكرون. So like we said, تشكرون, this is استئنافية جملة. It's separate in a sense. And تشكرون is فعل مضارع, of course. And the فاعل is هم. Sorry, not هو, هم. The ضمير is واو الجماعة, هم. Sorry, the فاعل. Okay. So let's look here at the translation. Where is it? So some windows that are not made it here. Okay. قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. So let's look at, there's not really much, like, as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward sentence. The only interesting grammatical nuance is happening with قليلا here. So we'll focus on that. So Dr. Mustafa Khattab says, yet you hardly give any thanks. So you see that hardly, like very little, yeah, hardly give any thanks. And then we have how little you pay gratitude. Again, that idea of how much, how little. And then you have little are you grateful. I think here you could use a little more, because little you are grateful is قليلا تشكرون. Little you are grateful. But then there's the ما زائدة, yeah, which gives that extra emphasis. And then you have Hilali saying, little thanks you give, like little thanks you give, right? Again, I feel like it needs that extra emphasis. And then look at Abdul Halim. What small thanks you give? Like what small thanks is this, right? And again, with the exclamation mark, adding emphasis to this structure because it's very emphasized, this kind of language, right? How seldom do you give thanks? Again, see how that structure? And then we're going to look at the layers translation here that has been done by Dr. Suhaib based on Tafsir Ibn Ashur. So he says, though you are hardly thankful, right? So again, you can see that. And you can expand this. This is a very interactive tafsir that you can interact with and click on the different footnotes and see what it says. So it says from here to the end of the surah, the Prophet is honored with the explicit role of directing this point. So the Prophet ﷺ is the one who is being addressed, right? Allah stops addressing them because it was before it was amman hadha alladhi yarzuqukum in antum. Yeah, it was you, and then reaches a point, Allah says, no more you. I'm gonna talk to my Prophet now for a minute. No more you, right? And we're gonna talk about that shift in audience, inshallah, when we're talking about the explanation. It's very beautiful. And then you see here, if at all. So when you expand it, you see he adds something else, if at all. And of course, if we're to look at the explanation of that, he says this is an eloquent way of saying that they never show gratitude. I think I mentioned this in the explanation session. Sometimes this structure is used to actually show zero possibility. It is actually used to show that something never happens, right? So they never show gratitude. And that's why he adds if at all, right? قليلا ما تشكرون. You never show any gratitude. So if at all, like you barely do it, if at all you do it. So that's the idea there. Okay. Let's continue with ayah number 24. Again, you will see the same structure. So we've done qul. Again, you see qul, right? So kind of similar structure. So we've already said that this qul is fi'al amr. Let's make it red so that you can distinguish. Fi'al amr, and of course there's I said, I think I wrote huwa before. Sorry, guys. Ooh. And you guys are not here to correct me, so I'm really sorry because some of you might be banning. You're like, no, it's not huwa, it's anta. Sorry for that. Yeah, we went through quite a bit for me to make that correction. Alhamdulillah, we caught it before the end of the video. So, qul, of course, the pronoun is anta and not huwa, right? Yeah, mistakes do happen. So, of course, again, this entire structure that comes after قُل is going to be مقول القول في محل نسب. And inside that مقول القول, what do we have? We have the first rafa, which is going to be our mubtada, just like we did before. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. Actually, the whole thing is just similar. You see? It's all so similar. So I'm just gonna copy from here, right? All that is the same thing. And then I'm gonna fix it. Give me just a second. I know it's not making any sense right now, but it will be in a minute. Oops. Why is it? Okay. There we go. There we go. All right. So isim mawsul, and then of course we have dara'akum comes all the way here at the end. Oops. And that's what we have. So قل is the فعل أمر, the فاعل is the ضمير مستتر أنت, and then whatever comes after it's going to be مقول القول في محل نسب, and inside the giant مقول القول we have a جملة اسمية starting with the هو as our مبتدا, and then the اسم موصول is our خبر, and then whatever comes after the صلة الموصول, that sentence is لا محل لها من الإعراب. But of course, inside it, what do we find? We have فعل ماضي ذا رأى, and then the kum is the attached pronoun there, and it's the مفعول به, right? So again, just what we've done, like I mentioned, this sentence is they're not very detailed or intensive in terms of grammar. في الأرض في حرف جار الأرض اسم مجرور. Okay, so always the إعراب is like that. So متعلقان بماذا؟ بذرائكم. So جار مجرور متعلقان بذرأ. ذرأكم أين في الأرض, right? Or he spread you where? In the earth. So that's connected to ذرأ, the فعل ذرأ. And then we have واو حرف عطف. So واو, get familiar with this. Since we have space, I'm just going to space this out and we can be able to type it. So عطف. And then we have إليه. إليه, إلى, حرف جار. ها attached pronoun and together. جار مجرور. متعلق to something. Alright? So it cannot be, because it's حرف عطف, it cannot be معطوف to whatever came before. It cannot be متعلق to what came before. It has to be متعلق to what comes after. So this is going to be متعلقان بخبر, well, in this case بفعل مقدم. بتحشرون مقدم. So it is متعلق بفعل مقدم. تحشرون إليه. That's the normal way of saying it. That's the standard way of saying it. تحشرون إليه. But no, إليه تحشرون. So this is something else. There's تقديم and تأخير. And we've talked about تقديم and تأخير causing something called اختصاص. Right? And sometimes it can cause حصر. Right? So we will discuss that in the explanation session. All right. تحشرون. Now تحشرون. What kind of a verb is this? This is مضارع. But what kind of مضارع is it? Is مضارع مجهول. Look, it's not حشر يحشر يحشرون. No, that would be the active way of saying it, right? This is مجهول. تحشرون. So حشر يحشر حشر يحشر is the مجهول. يحشر. And of course we're talking about أنتم. So أنتم تحشرون. So this is مضارع مجزول. And of course now we don't talk about فاعل. We talk about نائب الفاعل. So the نائب الفاعل is the ضمير أنتم. أنتم تحشرون. So that's basically what's happening there. All right. And again, like I mentioned, not much interesting grammatical points happening. So maybe we can just look at the translation to see how this إليه تحشرون. But I don't think it's going to be like very, different or anything like that. But let's see. So he says, he's the one who's dispersed you all over the earth. And maybe just one thing you can note is the meaning of ذرأ, because it has several meanings. So maybe just notice how different translators would translate this word. Okay, so dispersed, and to him you will all be gathered. So to him you will all be gathered. And then we have T. Usmani says scattered, so he uses the word scattered, and to him you will be assembled, right? It is he who has multiplied you throughout the earth. So now we see a different meaning of ذرأ. We've seen dispersed and scattered. They are more or less the same things, to spread, the meaning of spreading. And then we are seeing another meaning here of multiplication, populating you, like making you many. That is also another meaning of ذرأ. And we shall discuss those two meanings, inshallah. And to him you will be gathered. So we are seeing the same kind of structure. And to him shall you be gathered. Him to whom you will be gathered. So to him you'll be mustered. Okay, now that's an interesting. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. Right. So that's an interesting change there. It is he who multiplied you. So Ibn Ashur goes with the meaning of multiplication and not spreading. And to him you'll be gathered. Let's expand and see if there's any other meaning. So you'll be gathered with all generations after death. In other words, not just you, but every other being, every other human that has been created since Adam. So not much happening there in terms of that ayah. All right, so let's do some sarf and then we can continue with the i'rab. So we have mukibban. Mukibban comes from ka, ba, ba. The root letters, the jidr, are kaf, ba, and ba, right? And this is from family number 4. Aslama, yuslimu, islam. Akabba, yukibbu, ikbab. And we can already see that there's an irregularity here, right? You can see the last 2 letters are the same. This is what we call muda'af or muda'af, right? Both names are fine, whichever one you find easier to use. So which sigha is this? Look, mukibban, musliman. Sounds like that. It was supposed to be mukbiban, musliman. But biban, that idea of the same root letters coming together, they just prefer to merge them, and that's why it is mukibban. So this is isim fa'il. All right? And so we're going to do the sarf. So this is akabba, yukibbu, ikbab, fahuwa mukibbun. Right? Mukibbun. That's the one, basically. And if you want to do the sarf kabir, so mukibban, mukibbun, mukibbani, right? And then mukibbuna. Okay, we're going to stop there. And of course, at your own time, you can try and do a sarf. Sarf is all about practicing. If you're not practicing sarf, you will lose it immediately. So whenever we're doing these exercises, please make sure that you are actually doing more than I am doing, right? At your own free time, just while you're stirring the soup, or I don't know, cleaning, polishing your shoes or something, ironing your shirt, just do akabba, yukibbu, ikbab, mukibbun, mukabbun, والنهي عنه والأمر. Just do the whole thing, right? It really helps. Okay. So of course, what does it mean? It means to be turned down or turned over or looking down or things like that. So that whole idea. And again, we shall explain more when we get. Oh, I think we already did this ayah. Yeah. So that should be easy to understand now. Ahda. So you can already tell that ha, da, ya, those are the root letters. Okay. But now I want to figure out what sigha, what form is this? First of all, I have to figure out the bab. Now, either this is ahda, aslama, yuslimu, islam, but that doesn't make sense as a verb here in this particular sentence. It could be ahda, yuhdi. He guides someone, he guides another person. Maybe it's possible. But in this particular context, we are comparing 2 things. So whenever you have comparison in English, we call that comparative. Ism tafdhil. So that's a dead giveaway of what this is. So this is actually family 1. Hada yahdi, daraba yadribu. And this is ism tafdhil. Right? Ism tafdhil. Ahda, akbaru, asgharu. That same type of form. So we have hada, yahdi, and then hajyun, or I think it has other masadir you can check up. So hadi, fahuwa hadin. Person who is guided is called hadin, right? And of course, if you're to do the entire sarf, you will come to wa ism tafdil ahda. Again, we don't say ahdayu. It's supposed to be ahdayu, because again, remember it's ending with a ya. Akbaru, asgharu, ahdayu. But then you, nobody likes that. It sounds so ew, right? So we remove the you part and we have ahda. Now it sounds so nice. So ahda, that would be the isim tafdil. And this means more guided. Then we have sawiyan. Sawiyan, you can already see the root letter sawa, ya. So it's visible, right? But what family is this? This is sawiya yaswa. Sami'a yasma'u. Again, you can see the irregularity. It ends with wow and a ya. This is what we call lafif maqroon. Lafif maqroon. The last 2 letters are weak letters, right? So sawiya yaswa, and sawiyan is actually a sifa. This is actually a sifa. Sifa mushabbaha, like karimun, alimun, and so on and so forth. Such kind of patterns, right? Sorry, كريم. عليم is not a صفة, that would be مبالغة. But طويل, yeah, we've covered this. طويل, جميل, قصير. This will be صفة. سويا, also سوي, صفة. You can already see the pattern, right? So we have سوية, يسوى, سوى is the master. So I'm gonna add the سوى, فهو ساو. So that would be the اسم فاعل. But we are interested in the sifa. So if you're to do the sifa, you will come to سويا, right? Because there are two yas. That's why it's سوي. Like you have فعيل, طويل, طاول became طويل, ساويا became سوي, right? That's what happened there. And of course it means سويا, upright. Upright. And then we have مستقيم. مستقيم, ist family. So we're going to remove the things that are not part of that family, part of the jither. Must, all this beginning must is not part of the family. So we have qaf as, and here is wow, qawama, like aqama yuqimu, qama yaqumu, right? That's the family, that's the jither. And of course, this is family 10. Istaghfara family, istaqama, right? And you can see already there's weakness in the middle, there's hollowness in the middle. This is what we call ajwaf. When you have hollowness, when you have a weak letter in the middle, it's called ajwaf. Mustaqimun, mustaghfirun. What does that sound like? That sounds like fa'il, isim fa'il. Mustaghfirun, mustaqimun. So this is istaqama, yastaqimu, istiqam, فهو well, there it is, مستقيم. مستقيما. Of course, you can do the Sarf Kabir. مستقيم, مستقيمان, مستقيمون. Right? And this means straight. Yeah, straight. Or forward, like upward or something like that. مستقيم, like straight. Let's just go with straight. It's easier that way. Okay. And then we have أنشأكم. أنشأ. أنشأ. So we have na, sha, and then hamza, nasha'a. And this is family 4, like aslama, yuslimu, ansha'a, yunshi'u. And of course, that gives away, this is the madi, ansha'a. And when we're doing the sarf saghir, so ansha'a, yunshi'u, insha', fahuwa munshi'un. Okay, again, just an important point. Whenever you're writing the hamza, there's a way the hamza is normally written. When it comes before a kasra, it's gonna sit on the alif maqsura seat, right? It's gonna sit on that looking seat. So that's why it's written like this. And of course, if before it is a fatha, it's gonna sit on an alif. Yeah. And if it comes at the end of the word, then it's just gonna sit by itself. Right, on the على السطر, sorry, on the floor. That's where it's gonna sit. So that's kind of unnecessary tangent there. But anyway, let's go back. So what does this? So أنشأ, we can do the Sarf Kabir here. So أنشأ, أنشأ. Look how we're gonna write أنشأ, أنشأ, and then look how we're gonna write أنشأوا. So I'm just doing this for the purpose of writing, so that you can familiarize yourself on how to write the hamza. It's an important hamzatul qata' and hamzatul wasl. They have their own, study, and especially when it comes to writing. So this is when the dhamma is stronger than the fatha, and it's stronger. That's why it is sitting on a waw. Because before it came a fatha, but fatha is weaker, dhamma is stronger. So the hamza gets to sit on the stronger letter. That's the rule. Anyway, that's a study for some other time. Ansha'akum, he created you. But the idea of ansha'a is actually to bring something to maturity, to bring something to its youthful stage. It's not just creation and that's it. It's a whole process, right? So that's the idea of ansha'a. Ansha'a created you to maturity. You can look at it that way. And then we've done qalilan. So قليلا comes from قاف لام لام, right? And this is قل. So this is قل يقل ضرب يضرب. And قليل, like we've already said, this is a صفة. The pattern is a صفة. Like when we say a lot, when we say little, big, small, great, all these are adjectives. All these are descriptive words. So they are صفة, صفات, right? So قليلا is a صفة مشبهة. And so let's try and do the صرف. قل يقل. Again, remember ضرب يضرب. قل يقل. And of course, this irregularity is مضاعف. So قل يقل قلة. That would be the مصدر. قال. That would be the اسم فاعل. And of course, if you to do the entire thing, at some point, you would be able to reach the صفة. والصفة, we call it, in Bayna, we call it اسم صفة. اسم صفة قليل. There you go. That's it. In other places, they call it صفة مشبهة. It's the same thing. It's just maybe different terminologies, but as long as you understand what is being said, right? And what does that mean? That means little. قليل, little. Then we have تشكرون. So we've kind of done the jither here, so شاكرا. And this is شكر يشكر, نصر ينصر. And of course, تشكرون, this is مضارع. And so we have شاكر, يشكر, شكر, that will be the master, فهو شاكر, right? And then أنت تشكر, تشكراني. Oh. And then يشكرنا. And then of course أنت, sorry, I said أنت, here. We were doing here, here. We were doing here, here. You get it? Here, here. Anyway, تشكر, here, تشكر, هما تشكراني, هن يشكرنا, and أنت, again, تشكر, and أنتما, again, تشكراني, and هم, there we go, تشكرون, we found it. أنتم تشكرون. That's the one. Oh, so I just kind of mixed the صرف here. So شكر يشكر شكر شاكر. I kind of just yeah went with it. So let's fix it. يشكر, يشكراني, يشكرون, and then I think yeah, there we go. Now it's perfect. And تشكرون, what does it mean? You all give thanks, or you show gratitude. You all show gratitude. Okay. As we finish this up, so we have ذرأكم, ذرأكم. So ذرأ is our jither, and this is, what column is this? This is ذرأ يذرأ, فتح يفتح, and this is of course فعل ماضي. And so we're going to do the صرف here, yeah? So ذرأ, again, notice how we write the hamza at the end. ذرأ يذرأ, يذرأ, ذرأ, فهو ذارئ. Okay. Why is it written like this? Okay. ذرأكم. So yeah, the ماضي. Let's go with the ماضي. The ماضي. And again, ذرأ, ذرأوا, just like we did before here. إنشاء. So this is the one we are looking for. And again, this means he spread, you or he multiplied you. تحشرون. Finally, so this is حاشا, not خاء, but حشر. And this is حشر يحشر, so نصر ينصر. And this is مضارع. Look, but it's not just مضارع, it's مضارع مجهول. It's a صيغة لم يسمى فاعله. It's the مجهول version of it. So we're going to start from the beginning. So حشر يحشر حشر يوم الحشر. The day of judgment is called also يوم الحشر. حشر يحشر حشر فهو حاشر. Okay, and then we have who she ra, and then يحشر فهو محشور. Okay, محشور is the اسم مفعول. So يحشر, this is the one we're interested in, the مجهول version. So يحشر, هو يحشر, هما ماذا يحشران, هم يحشرون. That's it. We found it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. What does it mean? Y'all will be gathered. You all will be gathered. Right, and that brings us to the end of ayah number 24 in terms of everything, basically. Sarf, Nahw. We've done that. So like I said, I want us to go to at least ayah number 25. So let me just see, or if we can manage 26. This portion, 25, 26, very short ayat. So we can be able to actually, let's do 25 and see if we can be able to do 26 as well. So واو حرف عطف ويقولون. Okay, and then يقولون فعل مضارع. So هم يقولون مضارع, and the فاعل is of course هم يقولون. Okay, so they say, what do they say? Everything that comes after this sentence is going to be مقول القول في محل نسب مفعول به of يقولون. Right, so the Prophet is told to tell them قل how does it go? Why am I forgetting? سبحان الملك القدوس. قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض. That's the one. قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تشحرون. The Prophet is being told, tell them, he is the one. Allah is the one who spread you, and he will gather you. You will be gathered to him. Right? And then this is their response. SubhanAllah, they say, وَيَقُولُونَ. After being told by the Prophet ﷺ and being guided, they say, وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ. When is this so-called promise? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. Anyway, so this is the مقول القول of what they say. And again, you notice their mockery is not just they're mocking the day of judgment. متى هذا الوعد. They're mocking the day of judgment, and then they're also mocking the Prophet ﷺ and the believers. إن كنتم صادقين. If at all you're in fact truthful, then tell us, when is it? لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. All right, so this is the مقول القول. So we have متى. متى is اسم استفهام, is a question word, right? Is اسم استفهام. And in this case, we have to answer, okay, so it's اسم استفهام, but what role is it playing in the sentence? متى, what kind of sentence, what kind of question does that answer? It answers the question when. And when? What is when? When is a ظرف. So this اسم استفهام here is actually a ظرف. اسم استفهام ظرف. And of course, whenever we have ظرف, just like whenever we have jar majroor, we have to ask, is it muta'alliq? What is it muta'alliq to? Right? So jar majroor, you're going to ask yourself, what role is it doing? Is it muta'alliq, or is it tamyiz? Is it sifa? Is it hal? What is it doing? Right? Same thing with dharf. Whenever you have dharf, you have to ask yourself these questions. These are the two chameleons. That's why they're called shibhul jumla. They're called like copycat sentence. They're not really sentences, but they're kind of trying to copy the sentence. They're trying to resemble the sentence. Shibhul jumla, like resembling a sentence. That's what they're called. because they're just trying too much. Anyway, so ظرف is going to be متعلق to what? Now, when we look ahead, it's looking like a جملة اسمية, right? هذا الوعد looks like a مبتدأ, like a جملة اسمية. So that means that this ظرف is going to be متعلق to a خبر that is محذوف. That is محذوف. Now, for me, in order for me to explain that, I'm going to write something here so that you can understand what is happening. What is happening. So let's say the خبر is يكون. يكون مات هذا الوعد. But that's not the right way to say it. Like, I want you to think of it like this. If we're to think of it in some basic terms, the sentence is supposed to be هذا الوعد, because this is our مبتدا, right? هذا and the بدل. So هذا الوعد يكون متى? Like, this is kind of like the original structure of it. So that you have هذا الوعد, of course هذا is a مبتدا, الوعد is the بدل of هذا, and يكون is your خبر, and then متى is your ظرف متعلق to the خبر. This is how it's supposed to be. But of course, Arabic is not like this. We don't say the question word at the end. It's wrong. We don't do that. So the question word always comes at the beginning. So we have to bring it. What is happening? We have to bring the question word at the beginning. So we say متى. You can say متى هذا الوعد يكون. See? Still makes sense. But I can also just remove the خبر and it will still make sense. متى هذا الوعد. Again, let me do it in English so that you can understand properly what is happening here. Okay. This promise, even in English, you see, doesn't, it doesn't write very nicely when I write it like this. This promise is going to be when? This is not proper English. Even though sometimes we speak like this, it's broken English. Nobody is supposed to speak like this. This is improper English, right? This promise is going to be when, but then I make it proper and I say, when is this promise going to be? Huh? Now this is proper English. But I can also just, because I don't want to say so many words, I just say, when is this promise? And you understand exactly what I am saying, right? متى هذا الوعد is the same as saying, when is this promise going to be? But I don't say it in so many words, I say it in few words. Because again, the Quran is what? It's eloquent. It doesn't say things that it doesn't need to say. If it can be understood with fewer words, then it will use fewer words. So that's kind of what is happening there. I know I have written so much, but I hope you have understood what's happening with this متى يكون هذا الوعد. Okay, great. So this يكون here, again, it's not part of the Quran. I'm just trying to show you that the khabar is mahdhuf and it's not needed because we can understand from the context of the sentence what is being said. So we're gonna make that gray that out. So this متى is ظرف متعلق to the khabar that is mahdhuf. And we've already said that this هذا here is مبتدأ and الوعد, look, this is اسم الإشارة and it's followed by a word with al on it. And we normally call this pointer and the musharun ilay, we normally call it musharun ilay, the thing that is being pointed to. But the thing that is being pointed to could be either of two things. Could either be a badal. If it has al on it, it's definitely a badal. If it doesn't have al on it, it's a khabar. So those are the two things the musharun ilayhi can be, right? So here the musharun ilayh has al on it. So that means there's only one possibility and that is badal. So al-wa'du here is our badal. Okay? So that's what's happening in that portion. And then we have in kuntum sadiqin. So in here, this is in shartiya, if you are truthful. Sometimes the meaning tells you the grammar. So if I say if you are truthful, if is shartiya. So in shartiya here. Okay, we've figured that out. And that means kuntum is the fi'al shart, right? So kuntum is the fi'al shart And what kind of فعل is كنتم? This is فعل ناقص, what we call فعل ناقص. And of course, I know in بين terms this would be considered مبتدأ. But in إعراب books, you would see that this is فعل ناقص. And of course, the اسم كان here would be أنتم is the اسم كان. Right. And of course, صادقين, this is the خبر كان. How did we know? Or rather, in this case, خبر كنتم. How did we know that this is the خبر? Look, it ends with إينا. And whenever we see إينا, so صادق 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 صادقان صادقين صادقان صادقين صادقين. So that's kind of what is happening there. صادقين. So this is نصب في محل منصوب بالياء. Right? The ya is making it منصوب. Now, we said that this is شرطية. We said كنتم is the فعل شرط. So we have the condition part. Whenever we have جملة شرطية, we have the condition part and then we have the جواب part. Where is the جواب? This is where we have حذف, the concept of حذف. Just like we had يكون هي محذوف. Again, here we have the جواب is محذوف. So we're going to say جواب is محذوف. But how do we understand? Again, remember, the Quran does not say things that are not needed. It only says things that are necessary, right? And things that have a meaning. So if it can be understood from the context, no point in saying it. In other words, it was supposed to be إن كنتم صادقين بين ونبئنا or something فبين الوقت. Something like that. If in fact you're truthful, then tell us when. فبين الوقت. Then specify or حدد الوقت. Specify for us the time. Tell us. Clarify for us this when it is, right? So the disbeliever says, متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين فبين الوقت. Tell us, when is this wa'd? If in fact you're truthful, then tell us. So now, it sounds like too much. Like you're saying tell us so many times. It doesn't sound eloquent. And that is why this part of the shart, the jawab shart, is actually mahdhuf, because it is understood. Yeah? Or in this case, because in kuntum, tabayyinu, right? Because antum. Bayyinu al-waqt. Tell us, when is this day of judgment? So that's what's happening in that. We're going to look at the translation and then I think we can stop there. Inshallah. I would have loved to go I would love to go and finish the entire surah, but of course, I've given you quite a bit. So I think that would be a good place to stop, inshallah. So let's see the translation. All right. So the disbelievers ask, when will this threat come to pass if what you say is true? So you see, if what you say is true, when is it? When it's like this initial statement tells you of what the jawab would be, right? When will this promise be fulfilled if you are true? I would have truthful, because sadiq is ism fa'il, like it's not a masdar. Masdar would be true. I don't know about this one. Anyway, when is this promise if you should be truthful? I don't know why I should, but it's interesting. Then we have Abdul Halim. If what you say is true, now see? Now he took the sentence before and made it jawab. He took this mata hadha al-wa'd and made it jawab, because that's the understanding of it. That's what he's telling you what the jawab would be. So he kind of translated it in that sense. If what you say is true, when will this promise be fulfilled? Right? So you see, be fulfilled here, this is khabar mahdhuf. It wasn't mentioned. It was just, when will this promise? But he added be fulfilled. Even T. Usmani added be fulfilled here because the khabar is mahdhuf, but it's understood, right? So that's the idea. When will this promise come to pass if you were telling the truth, right? Kind of like same structures here. If you are truthful, again, Maududi, if you are truthful, tell us when this promise will be fulfilled. kind of like this structure, to be honest, because it gets out of the way the unnecessary question of where is the jawab, right? Of course, it's not true to the grammar, but it's more clear, I would say. Let's see here what Dr. Suhaib came up with based on the tafsir of Ibn Ashur. They asked repeatedly, وَيَقُولُونَ, again the mudari' is used. So Ibn Ashur mentions that this shows repeatedly. It's not وَقَالُوا, they said. No, وَيَقُولُونَ, they keep asking, they keep mocking. When is it? When is it? Tell us, when is it? SubhanAllah. Like, I don't even understand how a person would do something like this. Anyway, so what do they keep saying repeatedly? When will this promise come about? If you Muslims say it is true. Ah, so now here, the idea is that, the being truthful is not in kuntum sadiqin, but it is if the day of judgment is true. So there's something else being mentioned here, I guess. So there's a footnote here. The mocking question most obviously refers to the last day, obviously, Yawmul Qiyamah. As indicated in the previous ayah, it could also refer to a separate promise and warning of the Muslims' victory over them. Allah Ta'ala alam. This is according to Ibn Ashur. It could refer to the day of judgment, or it could refer to a punishment that is coming, or some other warning that they were given. And of course it applies because here al-wa'd is just a promise, right? And of course the promise is the day of judgment. And you could have other promises as well. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that session. I know I missed you guys being here and talking to me and asking questions and posing me and correcting me and all that fun stuff. But I hope with this we can be able to catch up with the explanation, because we were moving faster with the explanation than with the grammar, which is something that has never happened before, by the way. So this is new, that for the first time, the grammar is taking more time than the explanation. It's amazing. So this is the beauty of the Quran. So next, on Sunday, inshallah, this coming Sunday, we will do again the grammar of 26. Maybe we make it up to 28, and then we will remain with one section to just finish everything off in terms of grammar. So we'll see how it goes. And that's it from me. I'm gonna stop here. I hope I didn't bore you guys, but yeah, I'll see you guys on Sunday, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. See you guys next week, inshallah.